So my guest today is Cynthia Barnes, and Cynthia is the founder of the National Association of Women Sales Professionals, aka NAWSP for short. Cynthia and I met on LinkedIn less than a year ago, and she and I have ended up becoming friends, becoming colleagues. I actually work with her in the National Association of Women Sales Professionals as her Atlanta area chapter ambassador. But Cynthia has built the most amazing, huge community in a short amount of time. And that's part of why I wanted to bring her on the show today. She's going to talk about how when she quit her job in 2016, she then grew. She had this idea for NAWSP, and she grew it from this single meetup chapter in Detroit to an association that has over 13,000 members in about 2 years. And it's growing faster and faster by the day. And you guys know I am all about how to build community, how to build a network, how to build high-level relationships. And Cynthia has done all of those things. And she's going to share with you the nitty-gritty, the tactical of how she has done it. One of the things that blew my mind is she explains how she used LinkedIn to cut her daily sales calls from 125 down to 12 and quadrupled her revenue in the process. So whether you are a man or a woman, if you are selling anything, which we all are, you are going to learn so much from Cynthia about selling, about networking, about community, and about how to position yourself as a top thought leader in your space. And so I loved this conversation. I think you're going to really enjoy listening in on it too. And so please join me for this dynamic conversation with Cynthia Barnes. Cynthia Barnes, it is so good to have you on the Instant Impact podcast. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. I am delighted to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. Me too. And I'm just excited to get you in front of my audience because you are doing some incredible, dynamic, impactful work, specifically in the world of women in sales. And so I really want to shine a light on that because I think that you are doing things that need to be done and that haven't been done and that are overdue in the world of sales as well. And so I would love if you could share just a little bit about, before we get into what you're doing in the world of sales, let's go to the backstory. So tell my listeners a little bit about who you are, a little bit about your journey and what led to the formation of the association that you now run, the National Association of Women Sales Professionals.
Sure. Thank you so much. Let's see. If we go back to a time when Girl Scout cookies were $1.50 a box, that's how long I've been selling. Sales is in my blood. It's who I am. It is where my passion lies. I got started with the mindset of always being in the top 1% from my father, who was a former Air Force sergeant, and he grew up in the segregated South. So things were a lot different then, and his mindset was based upon Jim Crow laws. So keep that in mind as I tell you this story. So he sits me down when I'm 6 years old, and he says, "Sin May," you know, everybody from the South has a middle name of May, and he says, "Sin May, I've got something to tell you." He says, when you are trying to succeed in life, remember that you have 2 strikes against you. He said, "You're Black and you're a girl." And I said, "I know, Daddy." And he said, "What that means is that you are going to have to work twice as hard as everybody else in order to get half as recognized." And I said, "Okay." I'm thinking, I want to go back and play with my Barbies. And then he says, and I roll my eyes, like, are we almost done? He says, "While I'm at it, remember, there are 3 types of people in the world: those who make things happen, those who wait for things to happen, and those who wonder what the heck happened." He said, "If you're ever going to amount to anything in life, remember, you've got to work twice as hard and you've always got to make things happen." So fast forward a couple of months, I kind of discarded what he said because it really wasn't relevant at the time. I go to the Girl Scout meeting and they tell us that we're going to sell Girl Scout cookies. And instead of getting 1 sheet, how many did I get? 2, because Daddy's words were ringing in my ears, "You've got to work twice as hard." And ever since then, I have always taken that mindset and that work ethic to my sales career. Was it hard? Yes, but it was definitely worth it. So in 2016, after jumping from vertical to vertical to vertical, thinking, well, I can get to the top 1% in this vertical. How do I find another vertical that's challenging? I said, I'm going to fire my boss. So that's what I did. And then I said, now what do I do? The only thing I knew how to do was sell. So I said, what happens if I started to teach women how to get to the top 1%? How exactly do I do that? I knew how to sell, but I'd never run a business. So I had this idea. I said, when I was coming up in sales, traditional sales training was created by men for men at a time when men made up the majority of the sales force. Nothing wrong with that. However, it was 2016, and I said, I wonder if women, if given the opportunity to have sales training created by women for women that took into account their innate strengths and also address the unique challenges that they face, I wonder if they would gravitate toward that. So that's exactly what I did. I started a meetup group in Metro Detroit. It grew to 21 chapters across the nation. And then in 2017, we leveled up to the actual National Association of Women Sales Professionals, and we now have 13,200 members.
Oh my gosh. That is so incredible. That is so incredible. And you and I were talking in the pre-chat because I have the honor of being your ambassador in the Atlanta market.
Yes.
And we had an event this morning, and I was telling you about just the diversity of women there, and how cool it was just to have really candid conversations.
Indeed.
I'm curious, and I don't want our men to tune out at this point, because I think what we're going to share is going to apply to both men and women alike.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but I do want to hear from you. What would you say are some of the primary differences? You said sales training by women for women that women could relate to better. What are some of the primary differences in the ways that you see a woman would approach sales versus a man?
Women are inherently really good at relationship building. So if you have traditional sales training that spends an exorbitant amount of time teaching you how to build a relationship, it's almost a waste of time for women, because we do that naturally. We have a nurturing instinct to us, and we don't really need a lot of coaching on building relationships because we already do it very, very well. One thing I see in women that come to our rooms is they lack presence and confidence. Yeah. And that is one or two strengths that they could really use some help in. And those are some of the unique challenges that women in sales face.
So I didn't share this with you in the pre-chat, but this was something that actually really broke my heart this morning as I was meeting with this group of women. Was I started listening to the language, and I cannot tell you how many times I heard, I'm failing. I'm just not good at that. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not qualified to give you advice on that. We're all going round robin and just trying to help each other. I'm slow. And it made me think, like, who told you that? Like, at what point in your life were you told those things? But it was, as I was driving home, I almost started crying because it was so heartbreaking to hear that that was the wiring of a lot of the women who were in that room. And what you're saying right now is resonating to me so much, because I think women have the natural skill that's probably most important for sales, which is relationship building.
Absolutely.
But if our wiring is telling us that we're not good enough, I think it's like at some point in our lives or in their lives, they tried to be more visible. They showed up, they did something where they stood out, and somebody knocked them down. Like, that was what I was thinking, was like, at what point in your life were you told that you were too slow, that you were a failure, that you were not good enough? And so if we have this internal track running in our minds, then we're always going to be holding ourselves back. So this is going in a totally different direction than I planned on going, but I just felt like that spoke to me. And it was hard. So talk about it. Would you say that's a lot of the focus for what you do and for what you see women in sales needing, is more of like the confidence building piece and the mindset and the self-talk? Like, tell me about that.
Overcoming the imposter syndrome, because it's one thing to be told you're not good at that because of this. There are plenty of sales managers that will tell their reps, do it this way because this is the right way to do it. Forgetting that the best way is the authentic way. So there's one thing to be told that you're not doing it right. There's another thing in believing that what those words that were said are true. You can't internalize someone else's opinion of you, but unless you have a community telling you and supporting you and lifting you up and telling you that, you know what, you are you and you are okay, and just because you do it differently doesn't mean that it's wrong, then you are going to internalize that negative feedback.
Hmm. I think you said something really, really important there, which is the best way is the authentic way. And
Yeah.
coming from a sales training background myself, I know there's so much of it out there, and it not to say it doesn't work, but so much of it is formulas, like ask this question and then ask this question and then give them two choices to close. And while all of that is good, I think there's also this more intuitive way that sometimes is a little more of the long game. It might mean that you lose some opportunities in the short term because you're not like hard selling or hard pressuring people. But if you're doing it in a way that feels congruent and aligned with who you are and where you know that you're doing the right thing for the other person,
Sure.
you're going to have such greater long-term success.
You do.
So talk to us a little bit about building community and the importance of community as you go after a goal, because obviously with over 13,000 members in a little over 2 years, which is incredible, you have built an amazing community. I want to hear how you've done it and how someone who may feel alone in their journey can start to focus on building that community for themselves as well.
When I was building NAWSP, I thought about, what do women need most? Yes, we need sales training and coaching, but that is secondary. What we really need is someone who gets us. To be in a room or to have access to someone who knows what it's like to walk into a room and you're the only woman, to sell in a male-dominated industry, to be told that you are not good enough because you're doing things differently. So one of the pillars of NAWSP is community. In 2019, where we are so connected digitally through LinkedIn, our tethers, our called cell phones, everybody is connected, but we've never as a society felt more disconnected. And I wanted to change that. So we have the NAWSP app where women can go in, find a mentor, and actually pose questions and talk about, this is what I'm experiencing. Can someone please help me? The meetings that we have around the country are fireside chats and learning workshops where women can plug in. Our members told us they love networking events, however, they're busy. So how can we facilitate an event where they walk away with actionable steps that they can implement immediately, as well as join a sisterhood of like-minded individuals? The community is crucial. You can't have an association without it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've done something that I think is really cool. You've built this community entirely on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So tell us, because some of the people who are listening are actually looking to build their own communities and are going to be really inspired by what you're doing, or it just applies if you need to sell something and you need to build business relationships.
Absolutely.
So tell us about, like, I want to get tactical, nitty gritty, step by step. What have you done on LinkedIn that has helped you build such a massive community?
I first was introduced to LinkedIn in 2004. I think that's around the time frame. And like most people, I put up my resume because I thought it was a job searching site. In 2015, I became LinkedIn for Sales Black Belt certified. And I learned how to prospect, generate leads, and basically turn my connections into clients. I was making 125 cold calls a day, and it was just awful. So after I became certified, I decreased the number of sales calls that I made from 125 to about 12 a day. And I increased my revenue by 3 times.
What? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So hold on. So many questions there before you go any further. First of all, what is LinkedIn Black Belt certified? I don't even know what this is, but it sounds
It's a
very
program,
like secret society.
It's a program that Crystal Weiss and Art Sobak, the cold calling king, put together on how to leverage LinkedIn for sales. And they'll no longer offer the program. However, it was the catalyst that propelled me into the LinkedIn influencer that I am today.
Yeah, well, you are for sure. So, okay, you went from making 125 cold calls to 12 A
Yes.
day. And you grew your revenue by how much?
I went from $4,800 a week in revenue to
Mhm.
19.2.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell us how you did that because that's incredible.
The first step was Crystal describes it as having a business development profile.
Hmm.
So there are three types of profiles on LinkedIn. A branding, let's say you're Oprah or Bill Gates, you've got a branding profile. There is a job seeker profile, which most of us had in the beginning, and that is list your title and your background and then your experience. And then there is the third kind, which is a business development profile that attracts your target market, markets to them, and sells for you. Keeping in mind that the three major search engines crawl LinkedIn. So if your profile with your headline, your summary, and your experience is chock full of SEO keywords, the keywords that someone would use when they're looking for someone who does what you do, your profile, your LinkedIn profile will pop on Google's first page before your company website does. So that's the
Mm.
first step, is to have a rock solid profile.
Okay. And then what's the next step?
The next step is to use the tools that LinkedIn has to be able to, with granularity and specificity, my two favorite words, find your target market and connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Okay.
after you do that, you create a messaging sequencing, that program strategy that reaches out to them, and you send them a connection request, then you follow up with this message, this message, this message, and you move them through your sales cycle. And
Mm.
then you have to determine the frequency with which you do that. And then you
Wow.
take the conversation off LinkedIn, and prospects convert much, much higher.
Yeah. And so is that what you did to grow NAWSP? It was that same thing, just focused on NAWSP?
Yep.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So that ties into another question I wanted to ask you about, because there's maybe I think there's probably a happy medium, but there's almost these like dueling mentalities around sales. And one is going to be more of the grind it out, make as many calls as you can, hustle and grind, like just knock out those calls, kind of like you were doing the 125 calls a day. And it's a numbers game, right? So eventually you're going to land on someone. The other mentality or the other approach might be much more relationship driven. And I actually heard a lot of the women at the event today saying like, hey, I go out and I make friends. And at some point, if I'm able to help them, then they become a client, which I think sometimes though is a little bit too passive. So what would you say for someone who's achieved the sales success that you have? Where do you recommend falling in that spectrum, and what's your approach?
Time is precious. And someone asked me, Cynthia, if I were able to show you a way to decrease the amount of networking events that you do and outreach and prospecting, the amount of time, yet increase your results, would you be interested in learning more? And I said, of course. So I posed that question to the members of NAWSP, who asked me how, just like you did, how is it that they can be more effective and efficient? My answer is LinkedIn. I wish I could get a commission off of all of the LinkedIn business that I have sent their way. So if someone from LinkedIn is listening, I'm available.
Write this woman a check, for
Yes,
God's sake.
yes. I am a huge proponent of LinkedIn. Again, I get no commission. I would rather, let's just put it this way. If I had a choice between eating ramen noodles and tuna or paying for my LinkedIn Sales Navigator subscription, Sales Navigator would win every day and twice on Sunday.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this will probably make you laugh, but I literally just signed up for Sales Navigator for the first time a couple of
Great.
weeks ago. Cause I was like, I'd always been able to do pretty well without it, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what, let me give it a try. And so far I'm liking it, but I'm not sure that I'm sold. So tell us about why you think it's so amazing, and like, what is so much better about that okay. So school me, teach me, come on.
Okay, so the first thing, when you go and you search, whether you're searching for Fortune 500 companies, then you can go down and get granular into the roles or the function or the title. You save that search.
Mm-hmm.
Then every morning I wake up and it will say, Cynthia, you have 20 new prospects in your network. Because remember, every time I connect with somebody new, I'm connected to their network.
Right.
So it's an unlimited source of leads. So instead of going out chasing prospects, what if you were to have a targeted list emailed to you every single morning, and you reach out to them, engage them, connect with them, and then convert them?
Mm-hmm. Now but you can do that in the free version, right? Is it just that you can do more lists on the Sales Navigator,
You
or?
can do more Sales Navigator, and you can
Okay.
search by more topics. For example, the function of the person, the role, their title, their level of seniority. I can look, and let's say I want to target companies, then I can look at companies that have more than 75, more than 25, more than 2. I can tell it the companies that have X amount of headcount in a said department.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
You're getting me closer. So, okay. So I'm going to keep playing around with it, and I will
Okay.
report back to you guys and let you know
Okay.
what ends up happening. But so far, so good. I like that I can connect with more people, and it's cool that you can dig deeper and that you can send out more messages as well and get more information. So
Correct.
I don't know, I may just be
Correct.
like a total neophyte when it comes to these things. I'd like to hear from you, switching a little bit from straight sales to more personal branding, because that's a lot of the focus for a lot of my listeners, and that's something that they care about.
Sure.
What would you say are some things that sales professionals should be doing to build their personal brand in their given space?
The number one piece of advice that was given to me was, it is better to be different than it is to be better.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everyone has a unique selling proposition for their company. You need one for yourself. What is it that no one else can say that they do, the results that they get with the target market that they help, that you can say that nobody else can say?
Wow. Yeah. So it's really getting clear on your distinction. And I think that's like a Sally Hogshead original, right? Different is better than better.
Yes.
Which I love. Yeah. Now, obviously I'll just plug brand builders. Like, that's some of the things we help people get clear on, but if they're not working with us,
Yes, you guys are amazing.
thank you. How did you figure that out for yourself? Like figuring out the uniqueness and how to, Larry Winget says, find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. How did you get clear on that related to your own brand and start to bring more of that to the table?
I took a look at, what is it that I do extremely well, and that is sell. What is unique about me that nobody else can say? And then I took a look 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, what do I want my legacy to be? And then I took a look at, who do I want to help? So the sales portion of me will always be the same. The target market is women in sales. That is where my niche is, that is where my passion lies. And as a result of being that focused, for example, when people say, can you coach men? Sure, I can coach men. I have in the past. However, part of my brand is, I am a woman in sales influencer. Everything that I do is to promote women to the top 1% and help them dance on the glass ceiling. So that means that every piece of content that comes out of my LinkedIn profile has to be in line with that brand. And slowly but surely, people started to catch on, and they know, oh yeah, Cynthia Barnes is the woman in sales influencer.
Yeah. And you spoke to something there that I think comes up as a fear. A lot of people have FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, where they say,
Yes.
if I get too specific, then I'm going to miss out on opportunities. So I think what you said is crucial, is that you have branded yourself as a women in sales influencer. However, you still get men coming to you asking if you can help them.
Yes.
And I talk to a lot of clients who are afraid to get really specific about who they help. And they're like, well, I don't want to turn off potential clients, or I don't want to turn people away. What would you say to someone who is afraid of being too narrow with their personal brand of who they help and who they serve?
Sure. When you target everyone, you miss out on the people that you're supposed to help. If you drive an Audi R8, you are not going to take your Audi to the local muffler shop to get the engine worked on. You're going to take it to the Audi dealership because you drive an Audi because you love Audi. You love your baby. You take it to a specialist. Mm-hmm. Humans inherently want to work with the specialist, and we want to work with the best. We appreciate value, but we respect expertise. Mm-hmm. So when you position yourself as a specialist, as an influencer, as an expert in a specific area, you will attract more than you could ever imagine. So it's do you want to be a boutique, or do you want to be a mass retailer? Right. People want the boutique. They want the mass retailer value and feel that they got a good deal, but they like the boutique experience.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think too, for what a lot of us are selling, you don't need that many clients to hit your income goal. And that's one place where I feel like we get stuck, is in the scarcity thinking of, well, what if I turn off this one person who would have been my most amazing client because I got super specific on who I was helping? And it's this scarcity mindset where if you really do the math, you may only need 10 clients at any given time to hit your income goal. You may only need 5, right? It totally depends on what you're selling. But the other thing that I've seen happen is once you get really specific, it's easier for you to become known more quickly because you stand out from everybody else. And then what happens is you do get other people from outside of that core target audience coming to you and saying, hey, Cynthia, I know that you work specifically with women. However, I'm a man in sales. I've heard about you from 10 people I know. Would you be willing to potentially work with me?
Yes.
And then it's like, sure, right? If that's...
Actually, I say no.
Do you? Good for you.
I do.
Good for you.
Because first of all, a man who chased 2 rabbits go hungry.
Yes. I love it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And my brand is so important to me. I need to have that focus. And if I veer from that focus, then the waters get muddied. Crystal clear focus is crucial for your brand, as you know.
Yeah.
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 A woman turns 18 every day. There will always be enough women in sales to help.
I love that. I absolutely love that. This is so powerful. Thank you for sharing. I mean, your background was incredibly moving to me. And then hearing about just your mindset and how you've gone about building this incredible group in 2 years, just a little over 2 years, is mind-blowing to me. If somebody's listening and they're interested in getting involved in NAWSP or connecting with you, tell us a little bit about how people can best do that.
I know this is going to come as a huge shock, but I would love to connect with people on LinkedIn. Make sure you personalize the invite, though. That's crucial. You can't just hit connect. You've got to personalize the invite.
Amen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's best practice there. Yes.
Yeah.
And as far as learning more about NAWSP, you can go to nawsp.org and join us.
Wonderful. Cynthia, thank you so much for your time and for the impact that you're making in society. It really is making a difference, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me today. I think the world of you, and you are growing the Atlanta chapter by leaps and bounds, and I'm so grateful. And what you're doing to help people with their brand, I am a huge fan of your work, and keep up the good work. You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really hope that you'll connect with Cynthia and follow her and see what she's doing on LinkedIn and what she's doing in the world of women in sales. If you are a woman in sales, please join NAWSP. I promise you, it will be so well worth the time, the investment, just to have this amazing community of women around you who are supporting and growing as well. So thanks everybody, and I will see you soon for our next episode. Bye-bye.